Time. Time is slow, and time is fast. It never stops, but it is also always racing to an end. Everything has its own time, and there is a specific time for every activity under heaven. A time to plant, and a time to harvest. A time to tear down, and a time to build up. A time to keep quiet, and a time to speak out. A time for war, and a time for peace. A time to be born, and a time to die. We all have finite amount of time on earth, though through our day-to-day it seems never-ending, like the well will never dry. But what if you knew the exact moment your time would end? Would you do anything different? Would you listen more, talk more, love more, or fight more? Would you long for the future like you do now, or would you yearn for yesterday? I saw everything. I was there when the Earth's foundation was laid. I marked off the dimensions. I was there when the morning stars sang together and when the angels shouted for joy. I shut the seas up behind closed doors and showed the dawn its proper place. I knew how this would end because I wrote it from the beginning. I knew the seconds wouldn't go on forever, not here. But simply knowing doesn't make a calling easier. Knowledge alone does not lessen the weight of an object. Knowing what to do doesn't nullify the difficulty in completing the task. For each of us will bear our own load, and I know what it is to bear your burdens and your strife. So I return back to time. Who among us wishes they could have a redo? Who doesn't wish they could have said something more meaningful and profound when all they breathed was silence? As the days passed and days turned to weeks and week to years, how many opportunities did we have to do something more, but ended up just doing the minimum? Time. A crowd can be swayed within just a second. Time. A world can be destroyed in a blink of an eye, as it can also be born. Time. There's a time to keep and a time to throw away. Time. It's what some desire the most, but most will use the worst.
Who hatched the plan? There wasn't a plan. No. When you're desperately in need, you don't stop and think that digging a hole in the roof of a stranger's house might be a bad idea. You just do it. So we did it. You should have seen everybody's face when they were lowering me down all sprawled out on that mat. At one point, I just looked at everybody and I was just like, hello. Everybody was shocked, except for Jesus. It's like he was expecting me. Jesus, he had this big smile on his face. He looked up at my friends, he looked at me, and he said these words. He said, my son, your sins are forgiven. Now listen, I wasn't being lowered down on a mat because I was exhausted from running a marathon. I was being lowered on a mat because my legs didn't work. So when he said he was going to forgive my sins, I was thinking, sins? What about my legs? But I just didn't get it then. See, in saying he could forgive sins, Jesus was kind of, he wasn't kind of saying it. He was claiming to be God. Now, I don't have time to tell you everything the Pharisees told us we had to do to earn forgiveness. Needless to say, it'd be easier to move a mountain than to find forgiveness. And here, Jesus is just handing it out. Most everybody in that room had to be thinking the same thing. Who does this guy think he is? Who does this guy think he is? Oh. You can't forgive sins if you're not God. And if you're not God, you can't do this. I went in there hoping that I could stand on my own 2 feet, and I walked out free from sin. That's a miracle that doesn't just change me. That changes the world.
History will remember us on the wrong side, but in all honesty, that man brought it upon himself. It was my job to keep right by the law, by the tradition. The Roman Empire was good to us, and we did good by them. The law is all we have to live by, the literal. So this man, a carpenter turned rabbi from the Nazareth, just comes out of nowhere and starts speaking of the unseen. The unseen is what the Pharisees spoke of in the synagogues, angels and demons, that sort of thing. Us Sadducees, we stick to what is fact, the written law. The rabbi they call Jesus began teaching people in small crowds, sometimes in the homes of the most wretched, sometimes in public near watering holes. I heard he was performing magic in the streets, but the small crowds started becoming larger and larger. This grifter now had the following. I was told he brought a man back from the dead. The dead don't come back to life. That's when I knew that we were dealing with a dangerous man. Dangerous to our livelihood. Listen, if someone threatens your way of life, everything you have worked for and cared about, your money, your home, you would do something about it too. In the beginning, we were looking for any crime that we could hold against him. But the ones we were close to, the ones we trusted, said he was vague with his words and committed no crime in public. Remember too, he wasn't really in one place for very long. Most of the men that we had follow him and his crowd couldn't even get close enough to pick out which one he was in these crowds of people. Then I was told he would be coming to town for Passover. I was also told that he was calling himself the Son of the Living God. One person said he heard him proclaim that he was going to tear down the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Was it all true? I don't know, and I don't really care. I just wanted him gone. He was going to tear down my temple. Nah, this fraud. He needed to go.
I'd been caught outright and dragged straight into open daylight. Bystanders gawking, the village women absorbing every morsel of gossip. Common decency dictated that the shame of the moment was enough. But the law called for something greater. My life. Of course, a long audience followed behind. Don't think I didn't recognize a couple of them. Their words condemned me, but they didn't dare look me in the eye. I did everything to try to cover my shame, but I couldn't hide from the onlookers or this holy man whose feet they threw me to. I was finished. I stared at the ground when he said that whoever was sinless, they should go first. They should throw the first stone. Squeezed my eyes shut, grasping at the gravel, waiting for the end of my life to unfold. Nothing, though. Then footsteps. Except they were walking away. I looked up. Is there no one left to accuse you? He asked me. No. I don't either. He said, go and sin no more. Accusers. That's how he ended up on the cross. And as he hung there dying, he didn't say, I am finished. He said, it is finished. That's something different. That's a different thing. It means that something is accomplished, restored. He restored my hope, my self-respect, and my dignity. I didn't even know I had any left. On a day when I thought that my life was finished, the only man there holy enough to demand justice handed me mercy.
It's a busy week. Every year, the city fills up with people from all across the land. The parties were going on pretty much non-stop. All of the known world of Israel comes to this yearly party. So yes, it's a busy week. Who am I in the story? I'm the governor. I rule over the Roman province of Judea and serve under the emperor. I am the head of the judicial system in the area, and I oversee the local police. I'm a busy enough man, and this week is about as busy as it gets for me. Without getting bogged down into local politics, I will just say that I could appoint a local high priest, but the high priest at the time when I came to office was Caiaphas, and I trusted him. He and his Sadducee sect were reliable allies to my province and gave me very little trouble. So when they came to me with a person they accused of blasphemy, I heard them out. And if I'm honest, heard them out was really just me not wanting any problems. I mean, it was Passover. They bring this man to me, and I knew this guy. He and his friends came into town a week ago. There was this buzz around town when they arrived. Large crowds gathered around him. I even heard stories of him healing people, him performing miracles, and a few of them even said his words could bring people back to life. Did I believe any of this? No. But the people did. And that can be dangerous, having that many people believe in something. So when the Sanhedrin brought this man before me, I judged the case. I can't say I found him a threat to the empire. If I thought he and his band of rebels, followers, or disciples were a threat, I would have crucified them all. I don't think the man before me was a tactical militant leader able to bring down the temple as an act of warfare. No, he wasn't any of those things. But he was a disruption, one that I could ill afford to have on a week like this. So I told them, do whatever you want with this man, but don't do it in the town square. Take him out of the city and keep it quiet. The last thing I need on this week was a riot by a bunch of religious zealots. I just wanted order. I mean, it was a busy week.
Allahu Danesh. Hana Hayau. Le Ahodo.
Dat Marlan. Inanatu Mashicha. Bara de Haleha.
Anea na.
Good far! Good far! Good far! It's alive! It's alive!
Maxi Anamindama. Dahena Desika.
Eli! Lama Zaftani! Mashlam.